Hey guys, so welcome back to I think part 10 maybe, where we're going to really jump into the collision. Also, really dumb mistake I made. Change this to 4. We are going to include going up and stuff. So if you run this, you'll see that you can't move anymore. I'm clicking all the WASD and you can't move because by default, booleans are set to false. However, the collision should dictate whether you can move left and right and all that stuff. So the first thing we're going to check is if you can move down. And the way we're going to do this is check our position in the bottom left in the map grid and subtract 1 from the y coordinate and see if that position is true. See if something is there. We're going to do that for the bottom left and the bottom right. So what we're going to do is we're going to create actually a reference again. We'll call it collidable C. We'll just name it C for now because C is small. I like it. So C equals entity list.get I. So here's where the brunt of our code is going to be. So if grid comma C or bracket C dot get grid nodes dot get grid nodes dot bottom left dot x, here we are, and get y. So if that is true, essentially we got to cast these to ints, don't we? Yeah. All right, so let's just cast them to ints. Let's bring this down. So pretty much what we're checking right now is kind of useless. If our position is true is what this is saying. But, or if the bottom left position is true. But if the bottom left minus 1 is true, then don't move down, right? But we also need to check if the bottom right is true. So we're just going to make another if statement so that sometimes this can short circuit. So if the bottom right is also true, or the bottom right minus 1 essentially. If this is all true, then we're going to get that entity, C, and we're going to set movement. And we're going to reference the movement booleans dot can move down. We're going to set that to false. There is something underneath him. If neither of these positions are met, then we're going to set it to true. We can move down. There is nothing there, right? So now we can move down. We can't move anywhere else, but we can move down. Oh, yeah, I'll show you how to fix that error. I know what that is. That'll come much, much later. So we're just going to make sure our code doesn't get disgusting, and we're going to do public void check can move down. And we're going to need a collidable C. Cool. So we're going to check can move down. Pretty simple, right? So now we're going to do the same thing, can check up, I guess, right? So I'm kind of hoping at this point you're not just copy and pasting. You understand that. What we just did is we checked the bottom left, the y coordinate underneath, just beneath the bottom left to see if it's true, and the y coordinate just beneath the bottom right. If both of those have something there, then you can't move down. Actually, we should set it here. Okay. So my thought process is, if there's something in this box right here, but nothing here, you shouldn't be able to keep falling down. So we're going to edit this a little bit to make sure that you can't go down if there's only one there. Because what this is going to do is see, is there something underneath the bottom left? Yes, there is. If there's something underneath the bottom right? Yes, there is. So don't move. But if there was only something underneath the bottom right, you would still be able to move down because of how this is structured. So we can easily just do, we could just put an or statement. Or that. So the code's starting to get a little bit scary here, but stick with it. So now we're going to want to check, wait, let me just confirm everyone gets this. We're checking underneath the bottom left, the grid position right underneath the bottom left, and the grid position right underneath the bottom right. If either of those are occupied, then you should not be able to fall. If you're halfway onto a cliff, you shouldn't just fall off, essentially. But if there's nothing underneath either of those, then yeah, you can move down. So that's perfect. So now we're going to do the same thing with, we're not going to be lazy here. We're actually going to code it just one more time. So actually we're going to check can move right so that we get another perspective, I guess. So what we're going to check, if the grid, cast it to an int, never forget that, c.get grid nodes, so can we move right? Let's see. Let's get the, let's think, the top right for now. Let's get the x coordinate of the top right, and let's get the x, or the y coordinate of the top right. So what do we want to check here? If we're checking if we can move right, we want to make sure there's nothing to the right of us, so 1 to the right. So if there's anything to the right of us, don't allow it to collide. But we also want to make sure there's nothing to the right of the bottom, because just checking for the top, you'd be able to slide through little crevices, you know what I mean? So let me explain what I mean. If there was something right here and we had the code just as it stands, just checking the top right, if there was a platform all along here, you'd go right through it. So we also need to check the bottom right. So let's do the bottom right. What are you complaining about? Delete? No, I refuse. Bottom right. Let's check for the bottom right, and let's check for the bottom right. Why are you so mad at me? C.get, oh, or grid. See all those. Okay, so if there's anything to the right of us, no matter where we are going to set the movement of can move right to false. But if there is absolutely nothing, then we shall set it to true. And I'm pretty much just going to copy and paste these next two. And I'm not going to make you watch me go through that, but I will scroll over it so you can pause or something. So we added can move up, which is pretty much the same thing, except for -1 is now +1, and we change it from bottom to top. And for can move left, we, instead of adding 1, we -1, and instead of top right, we do top left. And it's pretty much the same code. So let's just add these checks. Check can move up, C. Check can move left, C. And check can move right, C. And as you'll see, when we run this, we can move freely until we hit something. And an error you might notice pretty soon is if you watch this, ready? See that? It stopped it right there. And it'll do it for the top one. But not the right or the not the right or the bottom. That's interesting. But if you kind of play with it, you can get closer. And I'm going to let you guys try to figure out why this is happening. And I'll explain it in the next one. So this will be a little mystery for you. So I'll see you guys later.